Welcome to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement, part of the Treehouse Podcast Network. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today, Joann Jackson.
Hey.
I almost said Detective Curtis Hadley.
I wouldn't be insulted.
Wow.
Oh, Curtis is a nice guy. He's great on the show. He's got a radio voice. He kind of sounds like Dan.
Huh, he's got a Dan voice.
He does.
What's a Dan voice?
Oh, we can't get into that.
Okay.
Okay, so Joann is co-hosting today's show. Now, we got several guests in studio with us today. Just the pregame anyways, this is going to be a great show, but a very special show. We've got some very important people as guests today. You're pointing at me. I already have a guest pointing at me.
I'm pointing at Joann.
What?
Yes, co-host Joann Jackson.
Yes, go ahead.
Do I just need to step out of the way and let you guys just
Yes.
Okay. Our guests today all have something in common. They are all surviving spouses of fallen officers. Joann is a surviving spouse of fallen Dallas officer Brian Jackson. We are joined with our other guests in studio today. We've got Karen Freeto Rutherford.
Yes.
Okay, the wine is flowing freely today in the studio. Now, next to you, Karen, is Gina Medlin.
Spouse Darren Medlin, Grapevine PD, June 12th, 2004.
All right, and down on the end, we've got Jenifer Hale Garrett.
And my husband was Richard Hale with the state of Texas. His end of watch is May 9th, 2018.
Okay, and Karen, going back to you.
My husband was Dwayne Freeto, Fort Worth PD. End of watch was 12/17/2006.
All right, well, it is a pleasure having all of you in studio today. Thank you guys for being here. And, the reason we're here is because our format is funny stories. We tell funny stories by officers from on the job. Now, you guys have all experienced loss, but you were married to an officer, and their legacy lives on through their memories and through the stories that they've shared with you guys over the years. And you've talked to me about some of the different stories they have, and that's really where I wanted to go with the show today. Is I wanted to have you guys in here sharing their stories, so their memory, their legacy lives on. So, who's got a story for us?
Well, I guess I'll go first then.
All right, Jenifer, you got it.
Okay. So my husband worked for a couple different agencies, but he started with Fort Worth PD. And so first off, I want to thank you for having me.
Of course.
And then second, I wanted to thank you because I didn't sleep all night. Last night, I kept thinking about you, Steve, and your show.
Karen says that too.
I thought about you all night, Steve. I'm sorry, Karen.
Wow, you know what? I'm gonna go sit down. You guys got
it's
this.
getting hot.
It is. It's
You
warm
got
in
the
here.
jacket off, you need help?
I'm okay.
Okay.
And then, so there was that, right? Like, I'm like, what stories am I going to tell? Because there's a lot of them, but there's some that it's more, like old school when you started out, when you could like be the police and you could actually like go out there and like, do your job, right? And so it's kind of like I was sitting here, I'm like, okay, well, what's funny then? Because some stuff isn't going to be appropriate. So I laid awake all night, and then this morning I was like, okay, well, I'm going to talk about the story. So Fort Worth PD used to have what was called Signal 50. I don't know if they still do it or not. I'm not sure. But so like the story's a legend, right? If it gets in the Signal 50. I mean, it's a legend. Everybody's got Signal 50. They used to read it. Someone's probably got a box somewhere stored with every Signal 50. So I was like, oh man, Steve's going to make me climb in my attic because I'm going to have to read the Signal 50. Because I'm going to have to make sure I have the story right. Because somewhere there's going to be someone pulling out a Signal 50.
Well, Jenifer, I apologize for causing you lack of sleep last night and for having to climb in your attic.
Yeah. So this morning, I had to climb in my attic, Steve. And I had to pull out boxes. There's boxes everywhere. And I'm having to go through and I'm like, where's that Signal 50? Where's that Signal 50? So then I had to have a cry fest, Steve.
Oh.
Because then I'm like pulling out all Richard's stuff. So I thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Oh.
Thanks for traumatizing our guest.
You're welcome.
Well, Jennifer, you probably needed it. Every once in a while, we need a good cry.
True.
It's true.
Karen
You
knows
know,
this.
hey, as a spouse, like surviving spouse, every time you move, like that's another thing. Like we move all the time, right? I don't know what it's called, but it's for real. And anyway, so I go through stuff, but you forget what's up there. So anyway, but so back to the stories. So Richard he used to work South Side, and so he was midnight shift or third shift, so it was like 10 p to 6 a, and he got a call, a dog call, and from a neighbor that these people's dogs, and I think they were some like Rottweilers or something like that. Well, they were. So there's like two of these dogs, and they're aggressively attacking like a helpless poodle.
Oh,
I know, it's sad.
poor
isn't it?
Tell
poodle.
that to Joann.
I know.
I'm gonna cry. Dog stories.
Yeah, it's sad. Don't cry, Joann.
I'll do my best.
So they roll up on the call, and the dogs, like when they roll up, I guess they're like, Fort Worth PD's here. They're like, hands up. No, joking.
Oh, God.
So they dropped the poodle. So the guys are like, like, oh, well, that's great. But then the dogs, like, they went somewhere else. And so now they're like in the dark looking for these dogs, these killer dogs. That was the call, was killer dogs.
Killer dogs.
Yes. So they're looking for them, and the dogs come out of nowhere. They just appear. And so they're like frightened, they're nervous, and the dogs like start charging at them. So they don't have a choice. They had to shoot the dogs. Sad story, but they had to shoot the dogs. Well, they try to knock on the door now, and nobody answers the door at the house. And so they keep knocking because, mind you, the neighbor's the one that called because they were like trying to eat the poodle. And they're like, what are we going to do with these dogs? So they get a body bag.
Oh no.
And so they decide to bag and tag the dogs. And they put the dogs in a body bag. And the dogs are on the curb for the next morning.
No.
To be picked up. So it actually made Signal 50, and because they did a lot more detail. I brought it if anyone wanted to read it.
Wow.
Steve.
Can you imagine the people when they looked out
Questions,
in the
Steve.
morning?
Any questions?
And they heard gunshots last night, and now suddenly they see a body bag. I'd be like, I don't see nothing. There's nothing on my sidewalk.
Yeah, good point,
Especially
because
the south part of Fort Worth.
Yeah, Southside. But you drive by and now you like see a body bag just like on the curb, right?
I don't see
Like,
nothing.
What do you think the neighbors thought? I mean, I don't know. So then they kind of got harassed, which is why they have the Signal 50. They kind of got harassed for a little bit, like cops do. And so then they decided, well, they were going to get another body bag. And they ended up dropping. So the officer that was with Richard that night that took that call, he used to work off duty at Harris Hospital. And so then they got another body bag like weeks later, and they dumped a body bag at Harris ER for that officer to Just kind of jack with him. It was like a run and dump in the patrol car, like pushing out the door. Yeah,
Just roll up to the ER and
just like roll the body bag out.
Just
hit
like
the brakes and just
I had like a
toss out the body bag.
yeah. I had like a dummy. I don't know what they did, but I mean, I don't know. You think Fort Worth PD still does stuff like that? Let's. Hey,
don't know.
you know what?
No, they don't.
We'll have to ask Curtis. Curtis wouldn't tell us anyways.
We should.
We will ask Curtis next time he is on the show. We will ask him.
We should. And we should also have calls coming in because I think we could take a poll on that.
For those that
Like-
were there,
Yeah.
that remembers it.
So we should like open this up, like open the lines, have callers come in. What do you think?
I like it. I do. I like it, but baby steps, right? But yeah, okay. We're going to bring Jenifer back for the episode where we're going to accept
Yeah.
live calls
Yeah.
on the show.
You should. And
And you can change her voice.
There you go, Jenifer. Say something to the mic.
Hello. Steve, I think you need a spanking from Karen because now I've been up all night and I cried today. Thank you for making me cry and be up all night.
Oh. All right, Gina, let's give you a try at this.
All right, so my husband Darren was a game warden prior to being a
City cop.
There you go.
Let me go with this.
You didn't even get to hear that. We changed your voice going into it.
Would you put me on Minnie Mouse again? Ah, I'm not Minnie Mouse.
Thank you.
don't
who
put
do you
me on
want to
T-
be? That's the question.
Let's
Who do you
see.
want to be?
Let me think. Okay, so are we good now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So Darren also worked for two different agencies. He worked for Texas Parks and Wildlife as a game warden and City of Gatebone. So in 2000, to go back in years, okay, 96, he became a game warden. I just came up with another story. While he was in training for the game warden, I guess they do a lot of running and training and stuff, right? So when he comes home on the weekends, and he came home with a ingrown toenail.
Ooh.
This is telling you more about Darren than you really probably want to know, but
That sounds
it's not
serious.
work related, but it is work related, right?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so he would come home and he would take a 100% cotton thread, and he would shove it underneath his toenail
Ow.
because he didn't want to go to the doctor, because then they would tell him, you got to stay off it. So instead of going to the doctor and getting that ingrown toenail cut off, he would take literally brand new swab, put alcohol on it, and shove it underneath his toenail. Yeah, it's gross. But that was Darren. He was a game warden. You know, they do gross stuff. Believe it or not, they do. Well, they have to see gross stuff. So he would shove it in there, and then a week later, he would come home,
He would shove it in where?
and underneath his toe.
Okay. Just making sure you said shove it in there. So I was checking.
Whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, so then he would take it. He would take it out the following week when he got home again, and then Pete, which is his Boston Terrier, would be sitting at the end knowing what he was fixing to do, and he would pull the string out and he would let Pete eat it.
Oh.
That's pretty gross, right? That's game warden stuff. They see weird stuff. But anyway, on the note of Darren working, I was with him patrolling one time because, you know, they work 40 hours and they get to pick their shifts. But I wanted to see what he did. What was the gratifying thing about being a game warden? So we go off, and he gets a call saying that there's unidentified, untagged carcasses in a dumpster. So we go off to the dumpster, and, you know, mind you, I'm pregnant, wanting to have kids and stuff. So, you know, I'm like, all right, this is cool. This will be good. So he jumps in there. He puts on his bodysuit, his waders, whatever you want to call it, because he's fixing to jump into this 33 big trash can looking for these carcasses to pull them out to find out what kind of animals they are. They were those big goats with the big horns, that rams, I guess that's what they were. Anyway, so it was so nasty. It looked like they were there for like a week. It stunk so bad. I had to drive all the way home with him, even though he was out of that bodysuit stuff. It stunk. Well, after Sarah was born, she had her first bowel movement. Darren's like,
you never
as
know
they-
where we're going to go with this show.
Exactly.
no, Darren's
Exactly.
like, I'll
Steve's
change her.
nervous.
I'll change her because I was tired. He changed her, and he just literally gagged. Now he didn't gag at once going in this trash can, pulling out this carcasses.
Oh.
But then he turned around and was changing his little daughter's diaper, and he goes, "How can something so bad come out of such a little person?" And I'm like, "Okay, hold on a second. Backtrack. Were you not in a dumpster full of dead carcasses that stunk with maggots and stuff?" I mean, and you're worried, and you're looking at this little innocent baby, and you're asking, "How can that stuff come out of her?" I don't get it. So that was his excuse from there on, never changing a diaper. That was his excuse. He always brought that up. And then, as he left the Texas Parks and Wildlife, and then went to the city cop. Okay, now I was already. Sarah was born. He turned around and goes, "Oh, by the way, I got hired on." I go, "From where?" He goes, "Grapevine." I didn't know where Grapevine was. I literally drove by it every single time coming back from work. Well, when he worked for the city of Grapevine a couple of years, he's always had these notches on his belt. You know, he's always wanted to be a field training officer, a DRE, all these SWAT team, sniper. He always, everything was on his notch. So he had pulled over a speeder, and when he pulled him over, you know, he can kind of test that the guy was nervous. So he walked up and he goes, "You know why I stopped you?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "You were speeding, and I need your registration and your driver's license." You know, the normal speak that the normal talk that they do. And the guy goes, "Well, I don't know where the registration is." He goes, "What's the problem? Why don't you know it?" He goes, "Because it belongs to my mother-in-law." And I go, "Well, where's your mother-in-law?" He goes, "Well, she lives in Lubbock." He goes, "Why is her car here and you're there?" And he goes, "Well, I don't understand." And then he looked at him. He could tell that he's like twitching, like he's like
He's
itching to like.
obviously nervous.
Can
Very,
you
you
like,
could-
can you give us an example of what
I wasn't
twitching
there,
looks like?
but I could tell you that from.
Can you twitch? We want to see. It's like Tourette's. No.
Anyway, so the guy had his hand on the wheel, and his hand like this. So he had that look. You know that look. You know that.
Yeah,
look.
he's about to
He
run.
makes the bolt. So he goes, "Chester." That was the guy's name, Chester. Right?
Was he a cheetah and did he run really fast?
Well, he did this time, but Chester, and then I can hear Darren, and I literally have the audio. And he goes, "Chester, you don't want to do this, Chester," and then right then he took off.
Poor Chester.
Poor Chester. He took off.
Chester.
Well, I guess Darren had already called for backup because he had that anticipation that it was going to happen. So he's on a high pursuit, chasing him, and I think they ended up somewhere. Okay, let me think. Grapevine, then Las Colinas, Irving, by the you know that area,
Sure,
right?
that
By
whole
the
area.
DFW area.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's driving, and all I heard, he's sitting there going, he's giving out his radio station, trying to figure out where he's at, and then all of a sudden he said, "Shit!" He goes, "I'm going the wrong way." And then I was like, "What the heck?" And then next thing you know, you see an officer in his boots, so you know that the motors.
Because
They,
you got the boots.
I got the boots. They get off, and I don't know which officer it was, but they get off, and they're sitting there going. They're you can hear their mics going. Chick, 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 jumps over a fence.
Wait. What did it sound like?
Chick, 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 chick.
Andy got off.
And he got so they're chasing him because the guy gets out of his car and he jumped over this fence and you hear this rattling and then you hear this all of a sudden. Right? And then the officer was
Wow.
like, "Oh my gosh." So the fence. So here's a parking lot. Then you got this fence and then he jumps down and there's parked cars like 10 feet down. And you hear this car alarm go off like, "Woo, woo, woo." And then it was over. That was the end of that thing. I do not know what happened to Chester. Don't know if he got caught. Pretty sure he did because he had two guys after him. And then I'm sure Irving or somebody got involved in it. But those were one of Darren's stories.
If Chester's listening, would you turn yourself in?
His mother-in-law lives in, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Let's welcome Daniel Cook from Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration into the studio. You doing all right today, Daniel?
I'm doing fantastic, Steve. Thank you.
Now, Daniel, I've wanted to ask you, have you always enjoyed walking on roofs? Or are you not afraid of heights?
I've never been afraid of heights. I never knew of any fears that I had, honestly, growing up, and I've discovered some recently, but roofs have never really bothered me. I remember in high school, I used to jump off my roof into a pool that we had. So that was always fun. I remember actually jumping off of my roof with a skateboard, landing on my driveway once. I remember, a couple of times, crawling up on roofs and sliding down by accident while we were hanging Christmas lights. So I've had roof adventures my whole life.
Wow. And a skateboard. Really? I never did that. But as a kid, I did used to throw water balloons off my roof. But as I get older, my feet need to be closer to the ground. I'm just not comfortable with it. But, seriously, climbing on roofs is very dangerous. You need to leave it to the pros. So if you are in need of a new roof repair, remodeling, or restoration, give Daniel a call at Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration. The number's 833-COOK-DFW. Again, that's 833-COOK-DFW. The website, cookdfw.com. And make sure you ask them about their free first responder upgrade. Welcome back. Welcome back to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today's show, Joann Jackson.
Hey.
Joining us in studio, we've got Karen Freeto, Rutherford. We've got Jenifer Hale Garrett. And we have Gina Medlin. Wow, I got them all right.
Got them all right, Steve. 10 points.
All your wives.
Yeah, all your wives, your girlfriends. Your wives and girlfriends.
Well, I don't know, because yesterday, so Steve calls me and he's like, hey, can you come a little bit earlier to the studio because Karen's not going to be home? And I'm like, Steve, does Karen not trust us alone with you? And he was like, la, 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 la. And then he's like, no, it's not that.
Just like, no, it's not that.
So Karen,
It's fine.
She could be like, do whatever you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
she's like, you can have him. Jolene.
If you spank him, I'll spank him later.
Okay. Moving along here. Yes, for our listeners out there, if you haven't already figured it out, Karen is my wife.
Yay.
Yes, I am.
Yes, she is.
I said she's my wife. Joanne's like, yay, and Karen doesn't say anything. So, Karen, go ahead and share with us some stories about Dwayne.
Okay, well, I only have one because we all know most of us know that he was only an officer for 9 months. But he told me a story once that they were arresting a suspect, and there was a female officer, and they had the suspect on the ground. I think it's at a convenience store. I'm picturing a convenience store in the story, and he was sitting on her back and holding her arms down, and the other female officer had her handcuffs on one of the suspect's arms, and she was saying, "Give me your other arm," and Dwayne said, "Yeah, give her your other arm," and she said, "You're sitting on her other arm." So he was like, "Oh, here you go."
Poor Dwayne.
Oops. So
Is that what that was?
Here you go. She's not resisting.
yeah,
Don't put that in her child.
sorry I made you resist.
My bad.
See, I really don't even need to be here today.
That's why we need our own
Yeah,
an off show, like a special.
yeah, we got this, Steve. We got this.
Yeah. You just need to show me how to work that.
Steve, why don't you go ahead and sit down?
New show. Well, welcome back to Spouses Gone Wild.
Hey,
Exactly.
that's not a bad idea. Make our own.
Steve's nervous. Look at
Yeah,
him.
he is.
He's speechless.
Poor Steve.
He's not sure how to respond.
I'm not.
He's speechless. That's a first.
Yeah. not really sure where to go from here. And I knew today was going to be a crazy day having you guys in here because you guys know how to have fun.
Yeah.
We do.
I think so.
And you guys have a bond, you know, that's just crazy. And you're always out there helping each other out. And I hate it that you guys have to welcome new friends into the group. And that part sucks. But yeah, the fact that you guys take care of each other, that's awesome. You guys are a very tight group. Okay, Karen, we heard about Dwayne.
Yeah, I do have one other story about survivors. And this isn't my story firsthand. I've heard it at our spouses retreat. There was a few spouses that told me a story once that they were all sitting in a local bar. I'm not sure where they were, but they were in a local bar, and a guy walks up to them and says, "Hey, ladies, where's all your husbands?" But that was good. And one of them said, "Well, they're buried all over the United States."
Steve, are you worried right now? I mean, Steve's here with 4 women. There's 4 of us, right?
Yeah,
And
4.
all of our husbands are dead. Are you concerned?
Yeah, Steve, are you concerned?
I mean, they weren't lying.
They weren't lying.
So
Some guys can't handle the truth.
That's true. That is true. 100%.
The
so
truth
this
shall
is.
set you free.
I want to go back
Speak
to the
now
guy.
or forever hold your peace.
I want to go back to the guy. You said it was a guy that approached the spouses at an airport.
I think it was at a bar.
At a bar.
Local bar, yeah.
Okay. Did they tell you what he did after they said that?
No, they didn't. I'll verify. We have our spouses retreat next weekend, so I'll verify that story.
I mean, the guy turn and run, or he's just and just kind of slide out.
Yeah, he probably did. He probably just turned around.
We
real
can
slow.
reenact it. We can do a reenactment. Like, let's all go somewhere, like to Chili's or something.
We should.
We should.
Yes.
And then
like the Olympics.
Y'all should not be left unattended.
and then we can just someone could come up and we can just redo it kind of thing. But here.
should.
Texas way.
Yeah. You good, Steve?
I'm for lack of better words, I'm surviving.
Well, the
So are
only
we.
thing
You're in good company. We're
Exactly.
surviving too.
That's true. That's true. The only thing I can say is that Steve knows us all very well. He's known us for many years, which is why I'm surprised he's kind of nervous right now. I think this is mellow to what we can do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes.
Steve.
We are widows, and it is one of the sadder parts of the law enforcement. But we are not black widows. We are fun widows.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you have to make light of it somehow because, I mean, just like you guys as officers, I mean, you talk about DRT. Y'all know what that is.
Yep.
And you make fun of that stuff or crispy critters and, things like that.
A survival technique. It's all survival. It's how you deal with it.
Oh, okay. Now,
Steve's going to be DRT in a minute.
are you threatening me?
sweating.
No, he's sweating though.
No.
Now, okay. Yeah, like I said, I knew today was going to be crazy up in here.
That's fun.
Joann, do you
Yeah.
have any stories you can share with us about Brian?
Brian didn't share a lot. I do have a funny story about Shaquille O'Neal. Shout out to Shaq. So Brian worked the Deep Ellum, Greenville area, and he knew all the valets because, that was his beat. And there was all this action going on at this club, and Brian went up to the valet and asked what it was, and he said, "Oh, it's Shaq's birthday party." And Brian's like, "What? Shaq's birthday party?" He's like, "Where is he?" And he just left in that limo. And of course, Brian being Brian, he's like, "I'm going to pull him over."
We're gonna find a reason.
Find a reason. So Shaq's in this limo, and from what I can remember, because the story is from 2003, and a lot of trauma has happened since then, I think he pulled up alongside the limo, and I don't know if he turned the lights on or if he did a whoop whoop, but he pulled up along the back window and rolled his window down and put his arm out the window and leaned over and looked at him, and Shaq rolled his window down and leaned over and looked at him and said, "What's up?" And Brian's like, "Why don't you pull it over?" If I remember correctly, I might not be correct. And he met Shaq, and he said shaking Shaq's hand was like a ginormous man shaking a baby's hand. He got his autograph, and he said he was the coolest dude. He didn't expect him to be as cool as he was. And now we all know Shaq lives here, and we see all the wonderful things that Shaq does. And it was one of the highlights. That and Snoop Dogg, D-O-W-G, did a show at the venue formerly known as Trees. And Brian was like, "Well, I'm just going to wait in the alley till he comes out by his bus." So there's Brian in uniform, waiting with his camera. Always had a camera. And Snoop came out, and he met him and shook his hand, and he took a picture with him in the alleyway. And Brian was like so happy because he loves Snoop. He was like, "Oh my God, loved him so much." And he's like, "I can't wait for you to see the picture." And I'm like, all excited to see this picture. It's like, I picked out the pictures today. And I'm like, I can't wait to see. It's Brian and Snoop in a dark alleyway in front of a dumpster full of trash bags. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
I can't even see you guys.
Well, at least it wasn't body bags.
True. True. Very, very true. Very, very true. But yeah.
But can you sing it? Because I'm thinking Snoop Doggy Dog.
Get it.
Can you sing it?
No.
Okay.
Karen, can you sing it?
No, I can't sing that one.
He definitely had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun.
Well, and you do in the profession. You have a lot of fun. And again, the reason I asked you ladies to be in here today is because we want to
Shut her off.
Good Lord.
For those of you on YouTube, you know what just happened.
Go ahead, Joann. Tell them.
No, I'm not outing my friends. They're going to have to watch YouTube if they want to know.
YouTube, the unedited version.
Yeah, YouTube. Unedited.
Wow.
So, Steve, why did you invite us here?
Yeah.
What happened? What happened to your original people?
What happened?
This is what happens. This is what happens.
You have to tell us what happened to Jimmy.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason I invited you guys in here is, just to spread the memories of your husbands.
Sure.
Because again, their memory is alive in the stories that you guys can tell, the stories you can tell about them, and that's important. And right now, I want to say this: Gina, this is actually the 20th year anniversary. Unfortunately, of Darren's end of watch this
I have
year.
a shirt on.
Yep.
It's 20 years.
And so this year, because of that, you along with a lot of the guys from Grapevine, went to National Police Week.
Yes, they sure did.
We saw you guys up there, and it's nice. Your agency, the Grapevine guys are awesome. How they have supported the Medlin family, even the mini Medlins,
Yes.
Yeah.
Sarah and Laura.
The beauties.
They were up there, and one other thing you did for Police Week this year is you introduced us to someone very important in your life.
Yes. So I took him to Washington, D.C. He got a lot
Police
out of
Week.
it.
Police
Yeah,
Week.
Police Week.
Police Week.
He got a lot out of it. And so I didn't know what he was doing, but in the whole lines of it, he was writing songs and memorializing and watching me the whole time. And I can invite him and say that he is my Steve-O.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
Troyo. Let's welcome your other half here.
Most definitely.
Yay.
Troy Stone.
Yay.
Oh, kissy, kissy.
Howdy.
Hey.
How are you today, Troy?
Very short.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. And one thing I found out when we got home from Washington, D.C. in Police Week is that you are, in fact, a musician.
Yes.
And I see you brought your guitar with you today, and I'm assuming you brought your voice with you.
Yeah.
Man.
I don't know about my memory, but I brought my guitar and my voice.
But before we get to that, you did share a story with me earlier that you had regarding a neighbor of yours that is a constable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was living out in the country, and we had 22 acres behind our house, and this constable lived a couple of places over, so we had an adjoining fence. Well, I had a female horse and a male donkey that I ran on the 22 acres.
Donkey.
And he bought a horse. He bought a young male horse for his daughter, and he called me up one day and he said, Troy, I was on my way home, and I was still from work, and I was still dressed and still had his uniform on and everything. And he said, I looked up, and he said that male donkey was heading for my horse, and he's done it before. He said, so I got in between them. He likes to beat up on the horse. I got in between them, and I tried to stop him, and he was really aggressive. And he said, Troy, he said, I tased your donkey. And I started laughing, and he was like, what are you laughing for? It's not funny. I said, no, dude, you tased my donkey. That's really funny. And then I went out and I found the donkey, and he still had the wires hanging from him and everything. But I guess it did turn him around, and he went back through the fence where he came from. But I thought that was pretty funny.
I'll say that's a good lesson for the donkey. He probably didn't try crossing the fence.
No, he didn't do. I reinforced the fence a lot, but he didn't try crossing the fence anymore.
So he didn't get tased anymore?
Nope, he didn't get tased anymore.
One and done.
Yeah.
There we go.
He learned his lesson.
One ride and you've had enough.
Yep,
That's right.
All right,
One
Troy.
ride.
Rode the
Okay.
electric boat.
Let's grab your guitar. Let's get to it.
The White Lightning.
All right. Well, I'll start off with kind of a fun song. I wrote this one about my son, my youngest son, when he was about knee-high to a grasshopper. We went fishing at a tank, so I had to write a song about it. It's called With the Mickey Mouse Fishing Pole. Let me see here.
Do we dance?
You can.
My son and I went fishing at a tank that was on my buddy's land. He was looking real cute in his shorts and his boots and fishing pole in his hand. Well, you should have seen his eyes when that fish hit his line and that bobber, it went out of sight. He said, Daddy, come a-running, 'cause I think that he's gonna put up one heck of a fight. We caught a great big fish on a little bitty hook with a Mickey Mouse fishing pole. Yeah, he wiggled and he squirmed trying to get that worm, but that worm would not let go. So we pulled and we tugged, and between the two of us, we got that fish to shore. We caught a great big fish on a little bitty hook with the Mickey Mouse fishing pole. He was king of the mountain on top of the hill as we showed it to family and friends. He said, Daddy really caught it. I said, no, son, you hooked it and I just helped drag it in. But now we gotta clean him if we're gonna eat him, and you know you gotta lend a hand. He said, Daddy, are you kidding? I don't wanna kill him. I might wanna catch him again. I caught a great big fish on a little bitty hook with the Mickey Mouse fishing pole. Yeah, he wiggled and he squirmed trying to get that worm, but that worm would not let go. So we pulled and we tugged, and between the two of us, we got that fish to shore. We caught a great big fish on a little bitty hook with the Mickey Mouse fishing pole. My son and I went fishing at a tank that was on my buddy's land.
All right, Troy Stone.
Something like that.
That was great.
Well, thank you.
Love
Thank you.
that. That is
So
that's
cute.
it's a true story.
That was a true story. You know, I sang it for some people when my son first heard it, and I said, "Now, what part of that story is not true?" And he said, "We ate it."
Oh, you did? Poor fish.
I
And-
love it.
Now, Troy, you've also done a song in remembrance of September the 11th.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I wrote several songs when September 11th come along. The first one was called "We Will Stand," and that was how the country pulled together. The second one was called "Angels Were Busy," and that was a song about how I had to describe to my kids who were young at that time what all was going on. And then the third song was kind of a closure song, I hope, for people, and it was called "Hold the Gates of Heaven." And
all right, you got that one for us?
Yeah. It all happened so fast. I didn't know where I was. Looking down from the clouds, from a stairway up above. The many people there with me started walking up the stairs. Something calling them up there. Then the gates of heaven were there in front of me, and they were opened up real wide. And all those souls walked on inside, but not in me. Hold the gates of heaven, I'll be on my way. I just need to look back to make sure that my family's okay. Then I'll be on my way. And when the last of them went by, I felt someone by my side. But I kept looking down to see if I could find my family. Then I felt a warm hand touch my shoulder. And I didn't have to look up because I knew. Then I started crying and he held me and said, "My child, it hurts me too." Hold the gates of heaven, we'll be on our way. My child, it's over. You're with me now. And everything will be okay. Take my hand, walk with me, feel my love. And I will show you the way. Hold the gates of heaven, hold the gates of heaven, hold the gates of heaven.
We'll be back.
So beautiful.
Planning for the future is challenging, and getting where you want to go in life requires strategies built around your unique financial needs. Alexander Financial Management is here to help you reach your goals. As fiduciaries, Alexander Financial Management will pursue the best solutions for you, no exception. While their decades of experience and service are available to everyone, Alexander Financial especially wants to help first responders and their families. The founder is a former police officer, and the executive team includes a retired fire captain and a retired police officer. Their extensive background in public service gives a deep understanding of the public retirement systems of Texas. So for retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, and estate planning, Alexander Financial Management has your back, so you can look forward. Get more info at alexfm.com. That's alexfm.com. Investment advisory services offered through Transcend LLC, a registered investment advisor. TE3 and Alexander Financial are not affiliated entities. Insurance products and services are not offered through TE3, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
Welcome back to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. Got a lot of guests in studio today. We've got, first off, we got co-host Joann Jackson.
Hey.
We've got guest Gina Medlin. Hey. Another guest, we've got Jenifer Hale Garrett.
Hey.
We have guest Karen Freeto Rutherford.
Hey.
Hey.
You ready, Troy?
Hey.
And then on the end, we've got guest Troy Stone.
Howdy.
Now, this segment is sponsored by Alexander Financial Management. If you have questions about retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, or estate planning, check out Alexander Financial Management at alexfm.com. All right, Jenifer, you were talking to me on the break, and you told me a story that I think you should share with the listeners here.
Okay.
Let us have it.
So, Richard, after he was not with Fort Worth, he came to Decatur. So it's more country out here. And so a city cop to a country cop, that's a big difference. But one day he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm coming home." And I'm like, "Okay, like, why are you coming home?" Because he's like afternoon shift. And he said, "Well, I've got to change." And I'm like, "Okay, what happened?" I'm thinking, "What'd you do?" And did you get in a chase? Like, what happened? And he's like, "No, actually, I had a traffic stop." And I'm like, "All right." And he's like, "So you know those cow trailers, those 18-wheelers, and they have those trailers?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so, you know, they got all these holes down the side. I've never thought about that. But he stopped a trailer that was full of cattle. And as he's walking up to the truck, a cow just pisses. I mean, pisses this huge cow all over him. And so he's got piss all down the side of him. Oh. And yeah. And I was like, does that even happen? Like, didn't even know that happened. So, country cops, that's probably happened. Be careful when you pull over a trailer with cattle. Watch where you're walking.
Don't get pissed on your traffic
stop.
Yes, right?
Yes. Like, how embarrassing, right? Like, walk up like, "Hey, I just got pissed on."
Oh, and the smell. Oh my God. I would have been like, in the front yard, and I'm going to get the hose, and you're not coming in.
And I'm like, is there a video of that though?
Yeah,
because I want to see.
How long ago was this?
Ring cameras.
So this was probably in like 2015, 2016, something like that. So it wasn't like terribly long ago, but I mean, it's been a while.
You should have put in an open records request for his in-car camera.
Should have. Yeah, that would have been awesome. Can you imagine? Like, I mean, he was soaked. So can you imagine that, Steve, like walking up to a car and being pissed on?
That would suck.
And just standing there like, what just happened? What just happened?
Who even thinks that that's going to happen? That's the thing, right?
Well,
never your wildest dreams.
And did he go on up and conduct the traffic stop? Because I think if I got pissed on halfway up to seeing the violator, I just turned around and walked back to my car and left.
He did, but I'm not sure, like, it probably wasn't a ticket. He's probably like, "Dude, I gotta go home and change." Like,
just run up there, slow down, and then just leave.
Have a nice day, sir. Have a nice day.
All right, now let's get on to Troy here. Troy, you've after coming back from Washington D.C., like Gina had mentioned earlier, when you got back from Police Week, you had written some songs,
yes,
and you brought one of those songs with you today to share with these ladies. And I think there's no better way to finish out the show than by hearing you perform that song. So,
okay, this song is I wrote this song. It's dedicated to the survivors of falling officers, and it's called "Thin Blue Line." at that moment in time when your life just stops and everything turns on a dime, and the reason you had to live is now gone. You're forced to walk a thin blue line, but it's all right, it's okay. You're gonna walk that line to your dying day. So go ahead and grieve, go ahead and cry. Maybe one day you'll find strength enough to get by. Yeah, it's all right, it's okay. You'll meet some friends along the way who walked your walk, who've done their time. They'll be with you hand in hand, side by side, down that thin blue line. All alone, it may seem that nobody understands, and all you do is sit around and cry. When you finally get out to give life another try, you're still walking that thin blue line. But it's all right, it's okay. You're gonna walk that line to your dying day. So go ahead and grieve, go ahead and cry. Maybe one day you'll find strength enough to get by. Yeah, it's all right, it's okay. You'll meet some friends along the way who walked your walk, who've done their time, and they'll be with you hand in hand, side by side. Yeah, they'll be with you hand in hand, side by side, down that thin blue line. That thin blue line. That thin blue line.
Such talent.
Good job.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't have said any of that better myself. God,
Yeah, I mean,
that's
he-
perfect.
He
Beautiful.
He embodied everything. You get it. You get it.
Yeah.
I wish more people did. You get it.
I'll tell you what, going to Washington was really sobering for me. You know, it's the officers and the spouses and everything. They just all come together. It's like it's one big family, and they all look after each other. And some of it was hard to watch, you know, but I'm glad I did.
Well, and we're glad to have you in the family, Troy.
Thank you.
So, all right, guys. Thanks for listening in today. If you have not already checked it out, check out the website, offbeatcopshow.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow.com. You can listen to all episodes there on the site, as well as subscribe to the email list. Also, if you're an officer and you have a funny story to tell, you want to come on the show and tell our listeners, send us an email. It's offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Guys, check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Until next time, stay safe and watch each other 6.